Hey guys, today I'll be sharing my updated Facebook ad strategy for 2020 that will work for any budget. This is a full Facebook ads course for dropshipping that will take you from setting up your first advertisement to setting up an effective retargeting campaign, all the way to scaling your product to 5 figures a day. Even though we're going to start with the basics, I highly recommend that you don't skip ahead because I'll be showing you my full ad strategy for scaling stores like this quickly to 7 figures. And you won't be able to adapt my strategy for your own situation if you skip the basics. Let's get started. First off, just to prove to you guys that I know what I'm talking about, let me just say that I've personally spent over $5 million in Facebook ads, and I hope to share that with you today in this video. So how much do you need to get started? If you're trying to dropship a single product like we recommend, the size of your ad budget depends entirely on the pricing of your product. The general rule of thumb for properly testing a product is to start with an ad budget that's at least 20 times the price of your product. The price that I'm referring to here is the price that you're listing the product for on your store. For our example today, we'll start with an advertising budget of $500, and using the ad budget rule, this will allow us to properly test a product that is $25 or less, and that product will be this LED closet light that I found on Ecom Hunt. If you're having trouble finding a product for yourself, check out our video on how to make your first successful Shopify store. Now before we set up our first advertisement, I'll explain how Facebook ads actually work behind the scenes so that you can adapt our strategy to your own unique situation. This is what you absolutely need to know before running your first ads. The first thing to understand is that Facebook ads are organized in a pyramid structure. At the top level are campaigns, in the middle are ad sets, and at the bottom are ads. Basically, this means that in each campaign, you can have multiple ad sets, and in each ad set, you can have multiple ads. This will make more sense as we go through an example later, but for now, you should know that together, these 3 levels give you access to Facebook's most powerful tools, which is user data and their algorithm. Facebook gathers thousands, if not millions, of data points on their users, like age, gender, and habits, then sorts all of this information to group users into thousands, if not millions, of unique categories. By categorizing their users, Facebook gives advertisers a huge advantage by allowing them to target very precise groups of people. The great part is that you, as the advertiser, don't have to know exactly who to target, because Facebook has a very smart prediction algorithm that can find the customers for you. Their powerful prediction algorithm will let you find tons of potential customers with high accuracy and minimal audience research through a feature called the pixel. The pixel is essentially a bridge between your customers' data and Facebook's prediction algorithm. By installing the pixel on your store, Facebook gets to track user behavior as they watch your ad and visit your store. As more data is fed through the pixel, their algorithm's predictions become more accurate and Facebook optimizes your advertisements towards the right groups of users. Now let's see how all of this information applies to our actual ad strategy. In total, the strat involves 5 different phases for testing and scaling a product. But first, you must have a few different creatives to test. The creative is a term that refers to the photo or video that you will use as an advertisement. If you don't know how to make an effective creative, check out both of our free courses on our YouTube channel for examples from our previous stores. To save some time, we'll be using 2 basic photos as our creatives for today's example, but you should feel free to use videos instead. Just make sure to make more than 1, since the creative will have a major influence on the performance of your advertisements, and you'll want to test more than just 1. Now let's briefly go over what our ad strategy looks like. We'll start with phase 1, where we will test our 2 creatives across multiple audiences. Once we find a working creative and audience, we'll move on to phase 2, where we will scale the working creative and audience from the first phase. Once we collect enough data, we'll move on to phase 3, where we will test different lookalike audiences. When we find a working lookalike audience, we will then move on to phase 4, where we will scale the winning lookalike audience until we have enough data to move on to phase 5. In phase 5, we will test our creative with the biggest audience possible by giving no restrictions to Facebook on who to target. This is what we like to call the end game, and it's basically when you can let your ads run on complete autopilot at max scale and just watch the money flow in. Before you get confused, this is just a general overview, and I'll show you how to adapt this strategy to your own unique situation as we go through the phases in detail. Now let's jump into Ads Manager to set up our first campaign. Let's get started with how you should set up your ads for phase 1. In this first testing phase, I'll do a full walkthrough, explaining why I choose certain settings and what each setting does, so that you can modify things for your own unique situation. It might be a little slow, but you'll need to know these details because I'll be moving faster through the next 4 phases. Let's start by clicking on the green Create button to make a new campaign. If your screen looks like this, make sure to hit the Switch to Quick Creation button in the top right. You're going to want to make all of your campaigns in the future using Quick Creation, so you might as well learn how to use it now. Once you're in Quick Creation, you'll get the option to make a campaign, Adset, and ad. Start by naming your campaign Interest Test 1, then name your Adset Interest 1, and finally name your creative Creative 1. We'll make changes to the Adset and ad later, but for now, let's focus on the campaign. At the campaign level, your main goal is to set an objective for your advertisement. In other words, this is where you get to decide what you want to get out of your ads. As far as objectives go, there are tons of options, and each option will give you wildly different results. This goes back to how Facebook organizes its users into different groups, and here at the campaign level, users are organized into groups based on which actions they are most likely to perform, so you can just think of these objectives as different groups of users. The two most popular objectives among dropshippers are post engagement and conversions. Let's talk about how they're different and which one you should choose. First, the post engagement objective will give you a group of users who are likely to engage with advertisements. They will like, comment, and share advertisements, but unfortunately, they almost never make a purchase. Advertising competition is low for this objective because there is no real value outside of just building social proof. The conversion objective gives you a group of users who are likely to perform an action on a store website. For example, people who like to add to cart or make a purchase. Competition from advertisers is the highest for this objective because this group is most likely to make a purchase. This makes the price you pay per view on your advertisement much higher than the engagement objective. Now, a lot of dropshippers like to start with the engagement objective to cheaply test creatives and build cheap social proof, but we recommend that you start with the conversion objective for a few different reasons. Most importantly, performance on an engagement campaign does not translate into performance on a conversion campaign. For example, if you tested 10 different audiences in an engagement campaign and noticed that one of those audiences got super cheap engagements, that doesn't necessarily mean the same audience will perform well in a conversion campaign. Engagement campaigns also don't really give any valuable data to use later on. Almost all of the users interacting with your advertisements in an engagement campaign are low quality and not likely to make a purchase. Since your pixel can only make predictions based on the data you feed it, low quality data will result in very little optimization. Lastly, with engagement campaigns, the chances of making a sale are much lower, whereas with a conversion campaign, you could very likely make sales on the first day because your ad is being shown to a high quality group of users. For those reasons, I recommend that you always use the conversion objective when testing and scaling products. The only time that you might use a different objective is when you're setting up a retargeting campaign, in which case you could use the catalog sales objective, but we'll talk about retargeting later on. For now, set up your campaign using the conversion objective and then leave everything else as is, except campaign budget optimization, or CBO for short. You might want to leave this on or off depending on the pricing of your product. Turning on the CBO feature will let Facebook decide how much of your daily budget to allocate towards each ad set for the best results. Turning off the CBO feature will let you control the daily budget for each ad set yourself, rather than letting Facebook decide. The advantage of the CBO feature is that Facebook's algorithm can make decisions based on the data from all of the ad sets as a whole, whereas with the ad set level budgets, Facebook can only make decisions for ad sets individually. That might be a little complicated to understand, but the only thing you really have to know is that CBOs are better for more expensive products where more data is needed to optimize, and ad set level budgets are better for cheaper products where less data is needed to optimize. I'd say you should start with a CBO campaign if your product's price is anything above $15. Since our product's price is $25, we'll go ahead and leave campaign budget optimization turned on. If your product's price is greater than $15 like us, and you have campaign budget optimization turned on, you will now have to decide your campaign's daily budget. Unless your total budget is greater than $1,000, we recommend a daily budget equal to your total advertising budget divided by 10. In our case, we have a total budget of $500, so we'll start with a daily budget of $50. This will give you at least 10 days to test your product, and you will most likely make enough sales to continue testing further than 10 days. If your total budget is greater than $1,000, however, then you can set a daily budget of $100 for this phase. If your product's price is less than $15 and you have campaign budget optimization turned off, you should also divide your budget for 10 days of testing, but we'll talk more about ad set budgets in a bit. For now, just click on Save to Draft and a panel should pop up on the right side of your screen. This panel will have one extra option for your campaign called Bid Strategy. We've played around with all the different options, but have found lowest cost to be the most stable, and we use it for more than 90% of our campaigns. You could try manual bidding with some of the other options, but it's definitely not a requirement and we won't explain it in today's video. At this point, confirm you have a campaign with buying type set to auction, objectives set to conversions, and campaign budget optimization turned on if your product's price is greater than $15. If CBO is turned on, make sure that the daily budget is 1/10 of your total ad budget, and campaign bid strategy is set to lowest cost. If everything looks correct, let's move on to editing our first ad set by clicking on one ad set at the top of the editing panel. The main goal here is to choose an audience to target. Let's start by looking at the first section of options called conversions. Even though you already have your campaign's objective set as conversions, you must now define exactly what kind of conversion you're looking for. In our case, we are looking for purchases on our Shopify store, so we will leave the destination as website and then select your conversion event to be purchased. Some dropshippers might recommend you to start with a conversion event like add to cart, but we recommend against it. Setting your conversion event to add to cart not only reduces your chances of making a sale, but it also feeds lower quality data to your Facebook pixel, since Facebook will give you an audience that likes to window shop without making a purchase. So go ahead and set your conversion event to purchase right off the bat. Next, you'll find two sections for dynamic creative and offer. While these are interesting features, we personally don't use them too much, and we recommend you not to mess around with them until you have more experience. The next section of options lets you schedule your ads for certain times of the day, and it also gives you some different budgeting options depending on if you have CBO turned on or off. Now, regardless of whether or not you have CBO turned on, when you're making new ad sets, you should always schedule them to start at midnight the next day. It doesn't matter what time zone you're in, because Facebook will optimally spread your budget throughout the day based on the location you're targeting. Now, if you have CBO turned off, this is also where you will have to decide the budget of your ad set. If you're going to be testing 2 creatives in each ad set like we recommend, then start with a daily budget of $5 for each of your ad sets. If you're testing more than 2 creatives, then set your ad set's daily budget to $2.50 multiplied by the number of creatives you will be testing. For example, you should set a daily budget of $10 if you want to test 4 creatives. If you have CBO turned on, you'll get an option to add spend limits to the ad set. This is where you can set a minimum or maximum daily spend for your ad set instead of giving Facebook full control over how much each ad set spends. In the past, we used to set a minimum spend rule, but we have since stopped setting any spend rules even during the testing phase. We have found that campaign budget optimization has gotten a lot better at allocating budgets across ad sets, so we recommend not setting any spend rules on your ad sets. Now let's talk about the most important part of creating an ad set: selecting your audience. In this section, you will define exactly who you want to target within your advertisement. Your first option is to enter a custom audience. These are audiences that are only available to you, and you'll need data before creating one, so leave it blank for now. We'll use this section once we get to scaling. Next, you get to choose the location of your target audience. It's important that you choose the right countries for your product because results will be very different between locations. Luckily, you can let Facebook do the thinking for you by targeting multiple countries at once. We recommend you to test products using our special e-packet list, which includes all the countries that qualify for e-packet shipping from China, minus a few countries that we found to be a waste of money. You can find the special e-packet list in our Facebook group at the top of the page. You'll also find a very engaged dropshipping community, which includes us, that would love to help you out. It's completely free, and the link to the group will be in the description. Next, you get the options to select age range and gender. We highly recommend that you leave both of these as is and give Facebook the chance to test a whole range of ages and genders. Unless your product is absolutely designed for either males or females, you should give Facebook a chance to find the perfect audience for you. For languages, you should set it to English all, unless your advertisement and website are in another language. Next, you get the option for detailed targeting, where you can narrow down audiences based on interests, behavior, and others. This is also referred to as just interest targeting, which is why we named our campaign Interest Test, since this campaign will be full of ad sets using interest testing. You'll have to get a bit creative here, but I wouldn't think about it too much either way. Just search for things using your common sense. For example, if you're selling dog toys, just search for dog and look at what comes up. As you can see, an interest called dog lovers is an option that would be a great choice. You can also target people based on things like relationship status, income level, education level, etc. My best advice is to just pick audiences that make the most sense with your product. In our case, we're selling the LED closet light, so I'll search for home improvement since I know these types of people like home appliance products. Now, besides using common sense, the only thing you should look out for when searching for an audience is the audience size. Ideally, you'll have some ad sets with smaller, more targeted audiences and a few ad sets with big, broad audiences. For now though, just pick one audience that you think makes sense. Then click the exclude people button and remove dropshipping and AliExpress as interests. This will prevent other dropshippers from seeing your ad and copying you. Now check the potential reach on the right to see your total audience size. If your remaining audience is less than 1 million people, you should turn on this option that lets Facebook expand your audience size. We've found that it helps when the audience size is small and highly targeted. Since our audience size is greater than 1 million, I'll leave it unchecked. Next up is an option to narrow down your target audience by connection type. This is a feature that we don't use and we recommend that you skip it as well. Next, you can choose the placements for your ads. This lets you decide where your ads are shown, such as on Facebook newsfeed or on Instagram stories. If you want to see the full list of placement options, click Edit Placements to open the full list of potential placements. As you can see, you can choose to place your ads based on device, platform, and individual spaces within each platform. We recommend, however, to go with automatic placement and let Facebook decide where to show your ads. Giving Facebook the most options possible will let you leverage Facebook's algorithm to give you the cheapest results on your advertisements. In the last section of options called Optimization and Delivery, you can leave it as is. We've heard from other big Facebook ad buyers that one-day click or view works well for them, but we've personally found that not to be the case. Feel free to test this one out for yourself, but I don't think either option will be the make it or break it for your ad's performance. Now the last thing to do for your ad set is to scroll back to the top of this panel and name your ad set based on your target audience. In our case, we'll name this ad set Home Improvement since that's the interest we're targeting. Before you move on to the ad level, make sure you have an ad set with conversion set to purchase, schedule to start the next day, location set to ePacket, language set to English all, and interest selected, and dropshipping and AliExpress removed. If everything looks correct, let's move on to editing our first ad by clicking on one ad at the top of the editing panel. The main goal here is to upload our first photo creative to make a post that we can use as an advertisement. First, take a look under the identity section and make sure the correct Facebook page and Instagram page are selected for your business. Then, under create ad, leave the format option as single image or video. This is the most popular format for advertisements, and while carousel ads work as well, you should probably learn how to run regular image and video ads first. So go ahead and skip to the Add Media dropdown and upload your photo or video advertisement. If you're uploading a video, make sure to customize the thumbnail to something eye-catchy by clicking Edit Video, Thumbnail, and then Upload. It's important to note that the thumbnail or video for your advertisement cannot have too many words being shown. To see if your thumbnail or photo is okay, Google Facebook Text Overlay and upload your thumbnail or photo ad to the Text Overlay tool. Make sure you get an OK before continuing on to the next step. If you don't get an OK, redesign the thumbnail or photo so that there is less text being shown. You can choose to use less words or just shrink the size of your text. Once you get an OK for your thumbnail or photo, move on to the primary text section. This will determine the actual text being shown on top of your video or photo. This is where some of the creativity will have to come into play, but our basic format goes something like this. We start with a simple explanation of what the product can do for a customer. For example, don't get left in the dark with automatic LED motion lights. Then we follow it up with an offer like 50% off for a limited time. This is a typical scarcity angle that we like to use for our ads. Lastly, we finish it off with a strong call to action like Shop Now with 2 arrow emojis to the product page URL. Once you have the primary text filled out, add a headline. The headline will be the bolded text displayed next to the call to action button at the bottom of your ad. You can also get creative with this, but our basic format usually involves just using the name of our product. In this case, just automatic LED motion lights. Once you have a headline, add a description. This will be displayed underneath the headline and will only be shown on certain placements like Facebook newsfeed, so it's actually not the most important thing, but it's still something you should think about a bit. Our basic format usually tries to reinforce a sense of scarcity. In this case, we'll go with 50% off, limited time only. Now make sure your destination is set to website and add the URL to your product page. We recommend sending people directly to the product page to streamline the process between link click and purchase. You can then set the display link to your base domain URL so that it looks a little bit cleaner. This will be what's shown at the bottom of your ad, but it won't affect the actual URL that you're sending customers to. Next, set the call to action to Shop Now. This will be displayed on the button at the bottom of your ad. Then, confirm that your tracking is set to the Facebook pixel that's associated with your Shopify store. Finally, take one last look at the post and make sure that everything is correct. If it looks good to you, click the duplicate button to make a second copy of your ad for the second creative. You'll see this option to keep existing creatives, and you can leave it checked on, but it won't matter for this specific scenario because we'll be uploading a new creative anyways. Now click Duplicate. and you'll see the same ad has been duplicated within the same ad set. The second ad will be pretty much exactly the same as the first, so you'll only have to change a few things. First, change the name of the new ad to Creative 2. Then, scroll down and select Edit Image or Video, and change the image to the second creative you have. You should leave everything else the same so that you can test your two creatives under the same conditions. You can mess around with the other options like primary text and headline once you find out which creative performs the best. Anyways, once you have the second photo/video uploaded and the name of the ad changed, go back to the Adset level by clicking on the Adset tab. Here, you should duplicate your ad set so that you can test your two ads across different audiences. The number of times you duplicate your ad set will depend entirely on your daily budget. If your campaign has the campaign budget optimization turned off, then you should dupe your ad set enough times so that the total daily spend is equal to 1/10 of your total daily budget. If your campaign has campaign budget optimization turned on, then take your total daily budget and divide it by 5. This will be the total number of ad sets in your campaign. In either situation, the idea is to give each individual ad an average spend of $2.50 per day. For our example, we have a CBO with a daily budget of $50, which is 1/10 of our total. Dividing the daily budget by 5, we will make 10 ad sets for the campaign. Since each ad set has 2 ads, this leaves us with 20 ads total and an average spend of $2.50 per ad. If your daily budget is higher than $50, however, we recommend against duplicating the ad set more than 10 times. Instead, you should opt to test more creatives within each ad set, while still following the rule for $2.50 in average spend per ad. For example, if your daily budget is $100, instead of creating 20 ad sets with 2 ads each, you should do 10 ad sets with 4 ads each. Notice that in both situations, the average spend per ad is $2.50. We recommend testing more creatives rather than more audiences at budgets higher than $50 because 10 ad sets will already give you a large enough audience range to make decisions about your creative, and adding extra audiences won't have a significant impact on your decisions. Remember, the goal here in the first phase is to find a winning creative and audience, and while 10 audiences covers a large range, 2 creatives won't give you a great idea of what's working. That is why you should opt to test more creatives instead of more audiences if your daily budget is greater than $50. Anyways, let's go ahead and duplicate this ad set 9 times so that we have 10 ad sets in total. Now use the suggestions feature under detailed targeting to come up with additional interests. You can also choose to widen your target audience by coming up with completely unrelated interests from your original. Remember to click on expand interest when potential reach is under 1 million, and also remember to rename your ad sets based on what interest they are targeting. In the end, these are the 10 interests that we came up with. Notice that they cover a wide range of people and have audiences ranging from very specific and small to more general and big. Now that you have the campaign set up, go to the campaign level, select your new campaign, and click on review and publish. Confirm that you have the correct number of ad sets and ads before finally publishing your campaign. Your campaign should start running at midnight the next day, as long as your ads follow Facebook's ad policy. Now let the campaign run for 2 days without touching it. In the meantime, we'll customize our columns so that we can analyze our ads with the metrics that are most important for dropshipping through Shopify. We'll start with the basic performance column and customize it by going to columns and then customize columns. First, we'll delete a few columns that we don't really need or only need to look at occasionally. Those are bid strategy, last significant edit, reach, impressions, ends, and schedule. Then, we'll add a few columns that are most important for analyzing how the audience for a specific ad is performing. Those are CPM, outbound clicks, outbound CTR, cost per outbound click, add to cart total and cost, checkouts initiated and cost, and video average watch time. Now you should organize these metrics so that they are easier to analyze. The first order of your column should look like this. Also, make sure to untick all of the boxes under adds to carts and checkouts initiated. Once your columns are in the correct order, hit apply, then save the columns as one of your default presets by clicking on columns, save, and giving it a name. Now let's talk about why your columns should be organized in this order. You can think of these columns as being divided into 3 sections. The first section gives you basic information about the ad and how reliable the data is. The more that an ad spends, the more that you can trust its data. The second section lays out the amount you are paying for each step of the sales funnel in order. The third section lets you easily see how effective each step of your sales funnel is by showing you the conversion rate between each step. If you're confused about the sales funnel, check out our video on why you're not making any sales, because without understanding the sales funnel, you'll be wasting a lot of money on your ads. If you already know what the sales funnel is, let's talk about how you should analyze your data using these columns after 2 days. The first thing you want to do is determine which creative is performing the best on average. Even though one creative may perform better for one audience, while another may perform better for a different audience, in general, there is such a thing as a superior creative, and at this stage, you are looking for just one creative to run with. The easiest way to see which creative is performing the best is by going to Account Overview on the left, clicking Show More Tools, and then Creatives. Before looking at the data, make sure that the date range is set to lifetime. This will show you all the data from your ad account. Now, using the custom columns you set up earlier, try to figure out which one of your creatives is performing the best. The easiest and most reliable metric to make decisions on is cost per result, but since your budgets are probably not super high and each of your ads have probably only spent $50, you may not be able to see a clear-cut difference in cost per purchase. Even if you get 1 or 2 sales on a single creative, at low budgets this could be due to pure luck, and this is when you should look at the metrics further up the funnel. To start, compare the second section of the columns from CPM to cost per result, and compare the metrics for your creatives. What you're looking for here are consistencies in these metrics that tell you that any results you have are reliable and not due to luck. For example, if you have 3 purchases on Creative 1, but only 2 purchases on Creative 2, this doesn't necessarily mean that Creative 1 is better than Creative 2. In scenarios like this, you want to look at the cost per metrics further up the funnel to see if the results are due to luck or due to a winning creative. So compare the cost per click, cost per add to cart, and cost per initiate checkout before making a decision on which creative is better. It's very possible that Creative 2 outperforms Creative 1 on every metric besides cost per result, and that's when you should consider running with Creative 2 over Creative 1, even though Creative 1 has a better cost per purchase. If you can't make a decision because they're both profitable and both have consistent metrics throughout the funnel, then continue running both creatives and move on to phase 2 with both of them along with your best audiences. If only one creative is profitable and the other one isn't, then use the winning creative and audience to move on to phase 2. If one creative clearly has better metrics but both are unprofitable, then kill the entire CBO. Or if you're running ad set budgets, kill all of the unprofitable ad sets and then kill all of the ads with your losing creative. You could also choose to leave on some ad sets that you think might work but haven't spent enough money yet. If nothing is profitable and the metrics further up the funnel don't indicate that anything could become profitable, dupe your campaign and restart with new creatives. In the end, before moving on to phase 2, you should have one good creative and at least one good audience. To find which audience is the best, look at the ad set level and see which ones have the best metrics throughout the funnel. Now that might be a little hard to follow, and I'm sorry that I can't give you more thorough advice about killing ads in a short YouTube video, but that's the case-by-case nature of Facebook ads. It's essentially gambling with data and statistics. A lot of times you have to make guesses based on insufficient data because gathering sufficient data simply costs way too much money. If you want more information on the sales funnel and analyzing metrics, then I strongly recommend you to watch our YouTube video on why you're not making sales. I go so much more in depth about the sales funnel metrics in that video, and it should give you a much better understanding of what you're looking for. Anyways, before we move on to phase 2, I just want to remind you guys to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to learn more about dropshipping. Anyways, let's get started with phase 2. In phase 2, the goal is to scale your winning creative and interest profitably until you have enough data to move into phase 3. Also, now that we are out of the testing phase 1, I strongly recommend using only CBOs from here on out, regardless of your product's price. Here's why. Now that you have a creative and audience that are proven to work, CBOs have a much higher chance of becoming profitable compared to ad set level budgets. Higher budget CBOs also have a greater chance of performing well compared to high budget ad sets because the campaign will have much more data to work with. Anyways, this is how you should structure your campaign for phase 2. Set up the campaign with CBO optimization turned on, exactly the same way you would do it with phase 1, but this time use a daily budget of $100. Then duplicate the winning ad sets from phase 1 into your new campaign so that you have 5 to 10 ad sets inside your new campaign. If you only had one profitable ad set in phase 1, then duplicate it 5 times. If you had 2 winning ad sets, then duplicate them 4 times each. If you have 3 winning ad sets, then duplicate them 3 times each. If you have more than 3, then choose your best 3 ad sets and duplicate them 3 times. I recommend keeping the number of ad sets to under 10 total because the budget of your CBO will only be $100. And with 2 ads per ad set, you want at least $5 being spent on average per ad so that Facebook can optimize properly. Once you have your ad sets duped, go to the page post and copy the post ID of your winning creative. Then go back to Ads Manager, select your new campaign, and then go to the ads level for that campaign. Here, you should select all of your ads in the new campaign and click Edit. Then under Existing Post, click Enter Post ID and paste the post ID of your winning creative. If you are testing more than 2 creatives, you should also delete any extra ads for each ad set so that all of the ad sets are left with 2 copies of the same ad. If you have more than 1 winning creative, then you can have 2 options depending on your budget. If you have a low budget, then use the same structure I just outlined, but instead of 2 duplicate creatives per ad set, run both of your creatives under each ad set. You should still be left with under 10 ad sets total and 2 ads per ad set. If you have a higher budget, you could choose to run it using the campaign I originally recommended for this phase, and then run a duplicate with the other winning creative. This will leave you with 2 campaigns, each one running a different creative. In the end, you should be left with at least 1 CBO with a daily budget of $100, running 5 to 10 duplicate ad sets of your best audiences, each with 2 duplicates of the same ad. Run the CBO for 2 days, and again, you want to keep a close eye on your creatives and audience. If it's unprofitable and the other metrics don't look good, then you should restart with phase 1 using new creatives. If it stays profitable, you can try scaling by using our scale rule. We'll be using this scale rule for the rest of our phases, so keep this in mind. If a CBO performs well for 2 days and the winning audiences within it exceed 20 million people, then duplicate the winning audiences along with the creatives into a new CBO with twice the original CBO's budget. Then, if the duplicated CBO does well, you can continue scaling by duplicating the second CBO with double the budget again. These days, we try not to mess with the budget for a good campaign and choose to scale by duplicating instead. As you're scaling, keep an eye out on all of your campaigns. If a campaign spends 5 times your break-even cost per purchase and it's still not profitable, then kill it. Now, wait until you've spent at least $500 in total for the ad account, or if you're running video ads, wait until you have at least 2,000 people that have seen 75% of your video to make lookalike audiences and move on to phase 3. To see how many people have seen 75% of your video, you can add a column to your ads manager by going to customize columns like we did in the beginning of the video and adding a column for video plays at 75%. You could also choose to make a custom audience and keep an eye on it. Either way, once the total number of 75% video viewers for your creative reaches 2,000 people, or you've spent $500 in total for your ad account, move on to phase 3. In phase 3, we'll test our creative with lookalike audiences instead of interest groups. We'll also set up a retargeting campaign at this point. This is a campaign that aims to get people who have already visited your store to finish their purchase, and it will probably be your most profitable campaign. Now, to create a lookalike audience, you'll first have to make a custom audience, which is a group of people that are somehow connected to your page or store. You'll also have to make custom audiences for your retargeting campaign. To do that, go to the audiences page in the main menu, then click Create Audience and select Custom Audience. Here, you'll find different groups of people to make custom audiences from. First, you should make custom audiences for your retargeting campaign, since these audiences will consist of people that have already seen your ad or visited your store. They are referred to as warm traffic, and they will be much more likely to purchase compared to people who have never seen your ad. For your retargeting campaign, you should make custom audiences from the last 7 days for page view, add to cart, initiate checkout, top 25% time on site, Facebook engagement, and 75% video view. These can all be made in the Create Custom Audience page under Website, Video, and Facebook page. You should make all of these custom audiences only using people from the last 7 days because that's what we found to be the most effective for retargeting. Older audiences might work as well, but it may lower the profitability of your retargeting campaign. You should also name these audiences with something like 7D in the name so that they are easy to find later on when you're making the actual ad sets for the retargeting campaign. Now, once you've made custom audiences for retargeting, you should make a few different custom audiences for making lookalikes. The first lookalikes you want to test will be made from page view, Facebook engagement, and 75% video viewers, because those gather the most data and will thus give the most stable results. Finding a working lookalike audience will be much easier to scale compared to ad sets using interests, so you really want to go to this stage as fast as possible. So go ahead and make custom audiences from the past 180 days for page view, Facebook engagement, and 75% video viewers. Then, to create lookalike audiences from the custom audiences that you just made, select the custom audience that you want and click the 3 dots up top, and then select Create Lookalike. Now under Audience Location, select Browse and just click the checkbox to select all the countries at once. This will let you target specific countries within the ad set themselves, so that you don't have to make lookalikes for every location you want to target. Finally, Under audience size, you want to make lookalikes for each custom audience from 0 to 1%, 0 to 2%, 0 to 3%, 0 to 4%, and 0 to 5%. This means that you will have to make one lookalike at a time, 5 times total for each custom audience. In the end, you should have 15 lookalike audiences, 5 each for page view, Facebook engagement, and 75% video viewers. Now that we have all of the custom audiences and lookalike audiences we need for retargeting and testing, let's go back to Ads Manager. First, set up a retargeting campaign by creating a campaign exactly the same as the first phase with CBO optimization turned on and a daily budget of $50. Then make 7 ad sets just like the first phase, except this time target one of your custom 7-day retargeting audiences instead of an interest. Then, within each of the 7 ad sets, you should make a new ad creative that is more geared towards warm traffic. We like to use photo ads with a strong call to action like sale ends today, with a clear picture of the product. You can also test multiple creatives within each ad set and kill off the bad ones after 2 days. You should also try to find a good ratio between your retargeting budget and the budget for your other campaigns, since the size of your retargeting audience will depend on the amount of people that you reach in your other campaigns. We've found that 5 to 10% of the total daily budget is a sweet spot. Use that ratio to scale your retargeting campaign as you scale up your other budgets. Also, keep in mind that cheaper products will need less retargeting, while more expensive products might benefit from heavier retargeting. You should also readjust your retargeting campaign budget as needed. If it's really profitable, you can try to squeeze more out of it by increasing the budget. And if it's not doing so hot, you can lower the budget too. Remember, this should be your most profitable campaign, so try to find the optimum budget for max profit. Once you have a retargeting campaign set up, it's time to test your new lookalike audiences. The setup for this is really simple. Make a $100 CBO with 5 ad sets to target one of your lookalike groups, starting with page view. Then for each ad set, make 2 duplicates of your winning creative. Once you test page view, you can test video view or page engagement next. If you find something that is profitable for 2 days, then move on to phase 4. In phase 4, we'll try to scale our working lookalike CBOs by using our scale rule and duplicating the working CBOs with higher budgets. If the new CBOs work as well, then we'll continue scaling by duping the working CBOs. Assuming this goes well, you'll soon have enough data to make lookalike audiences for add to cart, initiate checkout, and purchase. You can test these just like phase 3 and dupe the ones that are working. This is when you will start entering the daily 5-figure range consistently. But before you can hit max scale and move on to phase 5, you'll have to wait until you have spent at least $5,000 in total for your ad account. At that point, move on to phase 5 and keep running anything that is profitable as you move into phase 5. Now phase 5 is where you can scale sky high, and this is where the bread and butter is made consistently and almost automatically. This last phase is what we like to call the end game, and it's when you can just let Facebook decide the best audience for your product with broad targeting. Broad targeting is where you let Facebook decide basically everything besides the CBO's budget, the location of your ad sets, and the ads creative. As far as other targeting goes, everything else is left on autopilot. I don't give Facebook any audiences whatsoever, no custom audience, no lookalikes, and no interest besides exclude dropshipping. The setup for this phase consists of a $500 CBO running completely broad targeting to 3 different ad sets. 1 ad set targeting the USA, 1 ad set targeting Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and 1 ad set targeting worldwide with a few third world countries removed. After running this campaign for 2 days, you should scale using our scale rule if it's profitable, or kill if it's doing bad and go back to phase 4 until you have more data. If you're confused about why broad targeting is the best way to scale high, there's a few main reasons. 1. It leverages all the data you've collected by letting Facebook decide your audience. 2. It requires hardly any work to maintain since you don't have to think about finding more working audiences. 3. It lasts a very long time since ad fatigue doesn't happen fast with such a big audience. 4. It lets you scale sky high since you're not limited by audience size. 5. It optimizes much more quickly than other campaigns because the budget is so high. And 6. It gives consistent results because the budget is also very high. Now if you don't believe me, here's the proof. These are just 3 of our stores, and as you can see at their peaks, they're doing absolutely crazy numbers. Unfortunately, we've had to descale all of these stores due to some logistical issues that came with running operations this big, but rest assured the endgame method continues to work to this day. A lot of people in our free Facebook group have also found tons of success with this method and have reached the endgame themselves, so if you're having trouble getting to the endgame, don't forget to join the Facebook group for free help from us and other successful members. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned at least a few new things in this video and can apply it successfully for yourselves. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, we would really much appreciate it. But even if you don't, best of luck. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.